Hi, I'm Dan Hernandez. I'd like to welcome you to this week's episode of Sport Fishing. Well, today we're on the Islander with 20 of my friends. We're fishing offshore looking for tuna and yellowtail. We have a big yellowtail right here. It's one of the guys with us. He's got a fish on color. We're about to gaff it here in a couple seconds.
Right here, Jay.
Oh, big yellow. This is a big yellowtail. Nice fish, man. It's a big yellowtail. Jay just got it for us. Beautiful fish. This is the kind of fishing we'll be doing today offshore aboard the Islander. So stay tuned for this week's exciting episode of Sport Fishing.
This week's episode of Sport Fishing is brought to you by Shakespeare, Cabela's, Cajun Red Line, Fluger, Game Saver, Blue Cross of California Foundation, and by Laser Shark, manufactured by Eagle Claw.
Nice fish, nice yellowtail. Over, go over. Walk down to your right, walk down to your right. There's another nicer yellowtail. All right, great. Coming over. Going over. Good size. Nice shot of that. All right. I think we're underneath. Ain't nothing like it.
Under me. Watch it down. Gaffer.
Grab it. It's right behind you. When he comes back around. Oh, let me get another nice yellowtail. Upside down.
Very nice.
Come on up under that one. Turn around and look pretty for the camera.
If I can stand up. Yeah.
Nice shot.
Yeah.
Come on, come on, come on.
Right here, lay flat. Yeah. Okay, we've had a little emergency out here at sea today. One of the older gentlemen that's out with us, he's from Phoenix, took a fall. We were out in 6 and 8 foot waves out there a little while ago, and he felt pretty bad, hurt his hip. So we've called the Coast Guard. Right now we have a Coast Guard airplane circling us. There's a helicopter will be here any minute, and the helicopter is going to come in and take the guy off the boat, rush him to the hospital. We're still a good distance from San Diego. We're about 100 miles outside San Diego, and the helicopters don't have a lot of range, don't have a lot of fuel, so they don't want to waste a lot of time trying to find us. So that's what this plane's doing right here. He's circling around us, and he's going to be giving them location exactly where we are. Now in the back of the boat, on the deck and the stern, they have the guy, the injured guy, on one of the benches from the galley, and they have him laid on there. So they're going to keep him on that until the helicopter gets inside, within range, drop down a basket to put the guy in.
When we do respond to somebody in distress, we take a crew of 4, pilot, co-pilot. We have a flight mechanic in the back who's in charge of the cabin, and then a rescue swimmer that's ready to go into the water or down onto a vessel to help a person that might be in distress. On this particular day, we were notified of a 68-year-old male who had a possible broken hip off the fishing vessel Islander. It was approximately 120 miles south of San Diego when we got the call. We first lowered down the rescue swimmer onto the fishing vessel Islander. He assessed the patient and the situation, and based on the condition of the patient, we decided the best course of action was to put the patient in a litter. I'm Lieutenant Jim Pershing, pilot with the Coast Guard here in San Diego.
I'm Lieutenant Junior Grade Jeremy Denning, and I'm in the Coast Guard.
I've been with the Coast Guard for 4 years, flying the 60 Jayhawk. Prior to that, I was in the Navy, and I flew 60s for them for 9.5 years. And prior to entering the Navy, I grew up in Bloomington, Indiana, so I'm from the Midwest. And been stationed here for the last 4 years, and one of the aircraft commanders that stands duty regularly here in San Diego.
I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and I've been in the Coast Guard for almost 12 years now.
We always maintain a crew here 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Our response time is 30 minutes. So we got the call and we started preparing to launch. Because of the this particular patient and the recommendation of the flight surgeon and the doctor, we decided to call the San Diego Fire Department and take a paramedic with us as well. Our crew normally consists of a pilot, a co-pilot, flying the aircraft up front, a flight mech in the back, and a rescue swimmer.
As the co-pilot, I sit in the left seat of the aircraft and I handle all the navigation, communications, and backing the pilot up on all of his duties. My job is to give a vessel brief to the fishing vessel to make sure that they are aware of what we're planning on doing to execute the hoist. And so I go through a few items with them as far as lowering antennas, clearing off the deck, briefing them on how to handle our rescue equipment and rescue swimmer when they're lowered down to the vessel. So I give that brief to them just to make sure that the evolution goes off as safe as possible for us and for the people down on the fishing vessel.
This week, the Tackle Box is brought to you by Shakespeare, manufacturer of America's best-selling fishing rod, the Ugly Stick. This week in the Tackle Box, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what we're doing on the Islander. Now, we're on a multi-day fishing trip. On these multi-day trips, you can get yellowtail, tuna. You never know what to expect. But for yellowtail fishing, I want to tell you a technique that I really like to use. Now, you need to start off with a rig like this. This is an Ugly Stick Tiger rod. It's not a really long stick, what you would think for traditional jig fishing, but when we're using these heavier jigs, this works fine. You got the Fluger reel, 30-pound test Cajun red line, and what I like to do with this is throw out metal jigs. Now the magic metal jig, this is what it looks like that we're fishing with. This is the blue and silver. It's called a blue sardine, and there's two ways to fish this. When the yellowtail up on the surface and you want it to scream back, you just cast it out, let it drop to about a count of 2 or 3, and grind it as fast as you can. It'll dart back to the boat. The other way we fish this is what we call yo-yo fishing. We'll drop it down over a meter spot, we'll drop it down maybe 50 feet to 100 feet, and then we'll grind it straight up as fast as we can. As that lure is darting up, the yellowtail can't resist it, comes up and strikes it, and you just keep winding. You don't need to set the hook on it, because the fish are traveling so fast, the lure is moving so fast that they attach themselves. Now this is what the lure looks like in the stores. Call it magic metal. Come in different sizes, 3 3/8, 4 1/2 would be my pick. Now if you start seeing fish pedaling right up on the surface around the kelp patties, you want to go with a little bit lighter jig. You can cast back and just swim it back too. You want to work a little bit faster than you would for barracuda or calico bass. When it's strictly yellowtail, open water like this, you want that lure to move pretty fast. And this is what the magic metal lights look like when you go find them in the stores. Those are the only two baits you really need. When you're offshore fishing like this, looking for yellowtail, might find that occasional tuna, but yellowtail fishing under the patties or on meter marks, this will work great. Well, let's get back on the water and show you more exciting action here on Sport Fishing.
Well, we don't have the best conditions today. We're out here, we're 100 miles out at sea. The weather's turned on us. Big swells, big seas, heavy wind. It's pretty rough conditions. But you know, we're hardcore anglers and we all want to catch some fish, so we're gonna fish. We got some yellowtail Dorado in the area, and I'm gonna throw is a B52 bucktail jig. Got a Fluger reel, the brand new 4-aught size reel. It's got the lever drag, 40-pound test Cajun red line, and the Shakespeare Ugly Stick custom tiger rod. What I'm gonna do is just drop this down. I'll cast it out a little bit, and just let it go down a little bit, and then I'm gonna grind it back in. Now, normally you don't like to be out in weather like this, but we're already out here. Nothing we can do about it. It wasn't so bad on the ride out, but the weather's really changed since we got here in the dark. So I got this line out there, I'm gonna let it fall. Let it get down about 50 feet. Put the reel in gear and just grind. That's all you do with these bucktails. There's a lot of fish in the water. These bucktails work nice. You don't have to run back to the bait tank. Here they come, right on it. Oh, right on it, right there. See, the yellows were right on it. Just drop it down. You got rough conditions, so I don't want to be running back there like good bait. Just hanging out here. Drop this down. Got a pretty good bite going on, quite a few fish being hung. Yeah, just throw it in gear and just grind. If the fish were smaller, I would just use a smaller reel, high-speed reel. Ooh, there's a nice yellow. Right. go fish.
This week, the tip of the week is brought to you by Magic Metal Jigs and B52 Bucktail Jigs.
For this week's tip of the week, I want to talk about setting your drag. Just make sure before you start fishing that you adjust your drag so you have nice tension but not too tight. If you're not sure how to do it, ask one of the crew members, or at your local tackle shop when you change the line, make sure that you have your drag adjusted for you. That's this week's tip of the week, and I'd just like to thank everybody on the Islander. We had a great trip out here. It's a little dramatic with the rescue out at sea. The fishing was awesome. It was a lot of fun. I'm Dan Hernandez, hoping you enjoyed this week's episode of Sport Fishing, and I hope you join us again next week as we go looking for more of the best in sport fishing.